Welcome to Caskets and Cocktails, Memoirs of a Cemetery Dude. Get ready for a hilarious dive into the world of death care where cemetery industry veteran Mr. Danny and his daughter Katie will answer all those crazy questions you've been dying to ask. Go ahead and pour yourself a drink, pull up a rocking chair, and get ready for some laughs because we guarantee Caskets and Cocktails will be the last ones to let you down.
Hey guys, Katie Leverett.
I'm Danny Faulkner. I'm her daddy.
And welcome to Caskets and Cocktails. And guess what, Daddy?
What?
We survived the Christmas season.
Well, we still got a few more days to survive.
It's almost New Year's.
We're stumbling into New Year's.
That's true. And guess what? Did you spend a lot of time with your family over Christmas?
Yeah, too much time. I mean, no, I didn't spend enough time.
Oh my gosh, I'm your daughter. You're not supposed to say that. So today's show is going to be all about the family because
Really?
I know everybody's driving home.
Yeah.
Talking smack about their family members.
Yeah, and I didn't like your sister-in-law either.
So we are going to give you some fuel for that fire. First up, we have a podcast partner that sent in a question.
Yeah?
They are from You Can Rewind It podcast, and they are a movie podcast, and they just discuss and review movies.
I don't think I've heard that yet.
It's really good. It's
Is
a
it?
fun one. You guys check it out. But hang on just a second and listen to their question.
Okay.
Hi, this is Alexa from the You Can Rewind It podcast, and I had a question for Mr. Danny. Our podcast is about movies, so I was wondering if there were any movies that you can think of that accurately portrayed what you do, or if there are movies that you watched and you were like, that's not at all how it is. Also, what kind of movies do you like to watch in your spare time? Are they more lighthearted movies or darker movies? Thanks.
So that was a good question.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah, so I'm curious too. Do you have like a movie or something out there in Hollywood land that you think accurately portrays the death care industry?
Well, yeah, kind of. There was a series called 6 Feet Under.
Oh yeah, I remember that.
And it was a real good series. And it really accurately displayed funeral directors and embalmers and their idiosyncrasies.
Yeah.
It did not so much the cemetery business because every time the movies talk about cemeteries, it winds up being a horror picture. Some arm comes out of a grave and grabs some beautiful woman by the leg. So, but it did adequately do the funeral business, I think.
Yeah, and there's a really strong family dynamic throughout that whole show, right?
A weird family dynamic.
A weird family dynamic.
Yeah.
And really, as we are on the other side of Christmas, is there really like a normal family dynamic, or are they all kind of weird? I think they're all kind of weird.
I think so, too.
Of course, I'm just exposed to our family and...
Wait a minute, what are you saying?
Well, I don't know. So, I know throughout the years, you have worked with a lot of family.
Yeah.
It was a family-owned business. You and your dad were partners. Maybe tell us, do you have any, tell us a little bit about getting into the industry, kind of how you worked with grandparents.
Well, I took a job at a cemetery in Franklin, Kentucky, running a cemetery and running a funeral home. And I didn't know anything about anything. And I had to hire people and train, and the only way you can do that is to learn how to sell. Now, I'd sold before. I'd sold it in the paint industry. But selling in the death care industry is a totally different matter.
I mean, going from the industrial painting
to
death care is totally different.
Yeah, it is totally different. And that was back in the days when you knocked doors and all that sort of thing. So it was difficult learning. And I worked for a company for a guy that didn't know anything about it either.
Oh, no.
So it was the blind leading the blind. But we made it, and I left that company and got with Dad, and Dad was able to put up his financial statement. And we were able to buy some cemeteries, and we wound up buying 4 cemeteries. And he retired doing what he was doing and came to work with me, and we worked together for like 9.5 years. And we sold out, and he was able.
What did he do at the cemetery?
He was over all the maintenance and the grounds and all of that sort of thing. And I was over all the sales and administration. And we both discussed the trust investments and things of that nature. So everybody had a play. He brought Mom on board when we got computerized.
Oh.
And
was she like a tech whiz? Was he like, oh, she will be great at this?
She despised it, and all she did was whine and complain. And then this girl didn't do good, and this girl didn't do good, and I wound up having to fire her. Yeah.
You fired your own mom.
Yeah, I did. That was a cold Thanksgiving, I'm telling you.
I bet. Oh my gosh. So how do you go about firing your own mother?
I told her that I needed a mom. I didn't need a secretary. I can hire a secretary, but I can't hire a mom. So, Mom, I don't need you working here anymore. And she didn't take it as good as I thought she would.
No. Were you nervous about doing it? I would have had to like write something up and just have like index cards to read off. I think.
there's a thing like in that God didn't put in me. And one is nervous.
Really?
And the other is guilt.
Oh, that's kind of scary.
Yeah,
you might need to have like a brain scan done. I feel like this might be sociopathic.
I mean, I've got a conscience, but I don't. Growing up, Mother tried to make me behave by making me feel guilty, and it never did work. And but I had to do what I had to do, and it helped the company. And she still came and ate lunch with us, and she eventually quit being mad at me. And
I mean, she's your mom. She kind of has to forgive you, right?
Yeah. Well, not her. Yeah. You remember Mama. Yeah.
She could hold a grudge real long.
Yeah, she could really hold a grudge.
I randomly remember you sending her a cookie bouquet, and it was made out of computers. Like, it was made into the shape of a computer.
Yeah.
And she didn't think that was real cute.
No, she didn't. She didn't. Well, after you fire somebody, they lose their sense of humor for a short period of time. But I just had to do what I had to do, and in the cemetery business and in the funeral business, there's a lot of families that son always wants to do what his daddy does. And when there's not a son, guess what? The daughters want to do what daddy what daddy does. And there's a tremendous amount of women coming into the funeral industry, and they're very good. They're very, very good. But what happens so often in family situations, when there's a daughter and she marries a moron, and daddy hires the moron to come in and work in a funeral home, and it generally pisses all the other funeral directors off, and he always has to pay him more because he's not paying him, he's paying his daughter,
right? Basically. Yeah.
And so there's always contention in a situation like that the moron son-in-law or the stupid nephew, and sometimes they rise to the occasion, and sometimes they take charge, and they really do a great job, and sometimes they just can't do it.
Yeah.
But the owner doesn't ever see that.
Have you ever seen somebody really like crash and burn that was a family member where it's like embarrassing?
Oh, yeah. Oh, well, not necessarily crash and burn. I've been in the presence when I was in mergers and acquisitions, buying cemetery stuff, or funeral stuff, I'm sorry, where Daddy calls son-in-law in with me sitting there and asked son-in-law a question, and son-in-law gave some off-the-wall stupid answer. And Daddy, instead of, ha, 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 I'm sorry, he ripped him up one side and down the other. And I, to the point, I felt embarrassed for the kid getting chewed out. And of course, he wasn't a kid, he was my age. But, and I didn't buy that funeral home. We never could get together. So I don't know whatever happened to that guy. But I would have told Daddy exactly where he could stuff his funeral home.
Yeah.
After he talked to me that way.
Yeah, but when Daddy writes your paycheck, that makes it a little trickier.
Yeah, you got.
I mean, but you fired your own mom, so maybe it wouldn't be that big of a problem for you.
Yeah, well, I've always had the propensity of leaving a job before I should.
Yeah.
Either out of my choice or someone else's choice. But I do what I think's right, and I stand by my guns, and I'm hard-headed.
Is it a good call to work with family, or do you think it's better off keep it apart? I know a lot of times they say don't mix family and business.
Right.
But when it's a small business, it generally is family and business mixed together. I know neither myself or my brother went into death care industry.
Right.
He is in aeronautics. I work in healthcare. Totally different. And I've often wondered, like, why didn't I go into death care? I don't know. But hearing stories like, firing your own mom makes me a little bit glad.
Well, to get into the death care business, on the funeral side, you have to go to college. You got to have a 2-year degree in from a accredited funeral school.
So this is actually a really big question. I've probably had 10 people email me or direct message me asking, how do you get into the industry? So that's really interesting that you go to, what is it called? Like funeral home college? It?
The premier, there's a embalming chemical company called Pierce Brothers. They started and own and have acquired other colleges that are specifically designed to graduate funeral directors. And they have a very prestigious diploma and degree and certificate program. And this is the deal. Every state is different.
Oh, yeah.
Colorado, you don't have to have a license. You don't have to have any experience. You can just say, hey, I've decided to be a funeral director. And open a funeral home.
That's slightly terrifying.
Yes, it is.
So they can just be like, hey, I'm going to turn my front living room into a funeral home.
Yes.
Oh my God, that's creepy.
And in Pennsylvania, where it has more funeral homes than any other state in the country, is directly because of that. Is because small towns may have 10 funeral homes in a small town, and they're in the main floor of a 2-story house where the family lives upstairs and the funeral home's on the main level, and they may just have 10 a year.
But is it like a big tax write-off or something?
I don't know. They make some money, I guess. I don't know. But say where I live, and once you have your degree, you have to pass a state test. Then you have to pass a national test. And then you have to have 3,000 hours of apprenticeship.
See, that makes me feel better.
Yeah.
Everybody makes fun of the South for being so behind the times, but I'm feeling good about it. Hopefully this is where I end up one of these days.
Well, the thing about it is we want to serve the people, okay? And the laws are so incredibly intricate.
Yeah.
that you got to know the laws, and it's just crazy.
Yeah.
Now, on the cemetery side, to get into the cemetery business, you've got to have somebody to back you, actually. I mean, if you want, the best way to start in the cemetery business is to start selling. Go in and call somebody and get a job selling.
Okay.
Pull strings, get a job selling. But you're going to go hungry for the first 3 months, 4 months. And then once you get past that hurdle, then you're going to make a lot of money.
And it's not an easy schedule.
No.
It's not an easy schedule because you guys work weekends, you work holidays,
Yes.
you work late nights, you
Yes.
work early mornings. It isn't like a 9 to 5. And I think a lot of people have this kind of like fantasy about, ooh, it'd be like really cool to work at a funeral home. I don't know if a lot of people do. I mean,
Well, no, they do.
when they're like
They
a little
do.
kid, they're not like, oh, I want to grow up and work at a funeral home,
Well,
But
there's a fella that I work with. He's 27 years old. He started working part-time at the funeral home when he was 14. The fella that I work for that is the managing funeral director, who is 80 years old. He started working when he was 14.
You're kidding me.
And
So maybe there
So
are
there
kids
are a
out
lot of
there
kids
that are
out
like
there,
into it.
yeah, that say, I want to work, but I want to wear a suit.
Yeah. And now I can get behind that, all about the fashion behind it.
Well, too, they don't have to lift heavy things other than
Right.
dead guys.
And those can be heavy.
They can be very heavy. But getting in the industry is not all that hard, but it's a lot of hard work. And people aren't prepared for that. And they get in, and I go to the trouble of hiring them in because they're all about it. And then, 3 months into the deal, they say, well, I'm sorry, I just can't do this anymore. And then they quit. And I go, what the hell? Why did you tell me you could do it?
I mean, it's not all jobs are hard. Let's
Yeah,
be real.
exactly.
You got to work hard at every job, but
But if they've got it in their mind that, all I got to do is just dress up pretty and
shake
work,
people's hands when they walk
yeah,
in.
kiss babies and all that sort of stuff. Well, it ain't that way. It ain't that way at all. There's a lot of nasty stuff you got to do, and you cleaning and stocking merchandise, and just on and on and on. All the things that you do in everyday business. You got to do in the funeral business. You got to do in the cemetery business. I've always said that when somebody starts in the cemetery business, they should work 2 to 3 months on the grounds. So they understand exactly what grounds people do for a living, because they've got a physically demanding job. And they're there on Saturdays burying people. They're there on Sundays burying people. But everybody wants to wear a coat and tie.
Yeah.
Well, that's not how the cemetery business works.
Yeah.
You've got to get in. You got to be willing to get involved.
Yeah. Oh, that's really interesting. So we also got an email question, and gosh, I forgot the girl's first name. But she's from Trenton, Georgia.
Really? I know
Yes.
Trenton, Georgia.
Yeah, and she said that she recognized a lot of the stuff that we talk about in Chattanooga.
Oh, yeah?
But she wanted to know, when you were a kid, if you were going to do something other than being in the cemetery industry, what would you want to be?
Well, I'm 64, and I have no idea what I'm going to be when I grow up.
I'm kind of with you on that.
I sold paint. When I started selling paint when I was 21, industrial coatings. I traveled 4 states, 5 states. They gave me a car and a card and said, go sell some paint. And I learned how to sell. And then I got into this business by accident.
Yeah.
I had a friend of mine move to Nashville and worked in it as a stockbroker. And the stockbroker was wanting to buy some cemeteries. He said, now, if I buy some cemeteries in Chattanooga, would you move back and run them? And he said, hell no. He said, I'm a stockbroker. He said, but I got a friend of mine that'll do anything if there's money involved. And so we met. He hired me, and he bought stuff in Kentucky. And, I mean, I wasn't looking to get in. I just got in at it.
Yeah.
And I have no clue what I would like to do. You know, I'd like to be...
Maybe a pro podcaster?
Hey, there you go.
Hey, we might be onto something there.
Hey, now. If I was going to do anything, it would be probably something that made me ridiculously rich.
Oh, I like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
I always wanted to be an heiress, but that never really panned out.
Yeah. I remember when you were a kid, you asked me, Dad, what does an heiress do? And I thought that was so funny. And it was so you.
It was to me.
Yeah.
It was to me. Beach Too Sandy, Water Too Wet is a comedy podcast featuring brother and sister duo Alex and Christina as they recap dramatic readings of one-star reviews written by real people with not-so-real problems. Whether it's a bar's no throw-up policy, a barista who's just too friendly, or a school psychologist's fashion sense, prepare for equal amounts of laughter and eye-rolling. Listen to Beach Too Sandy, Water Too Wet on Spotify, Anchor, Apple Podcasts, or any of your favorite podcast apps. You can also find them on all social media platforms at Beach Too Sandy.
Kind of about Mr. Danny's family. So we know that Katie is his daughter, but I'm curious if there's a Mrs. Danny, and maybe kind of what her perspective is of being married to a cemetery dude, and if she has any stories kind of from her perspective about what it was like to be married to a man in the cemetery business, and maybe how her life was a little different or how it was the same from a lot of other people. Love the show.
Well, that was an awesome question. And guess what?
What?
We have a special guest.
Who is it?
It's Mom.
Hello, everybody. It's Miss Jeannie here.
Yes. So I get that question all the time. What's it like to have your dad work in the cemetery industry? Do you get that question?
I get it all the time, and I just look at him and say it's like any other business. It's not weird like people think, although you all do have some weird stories, but I have nothing but great memories and good times in the industry. It was fun as kids, you all playing in the cemeteries, riding bikes, fishing. You know, one time your daddy got a call that there were children riding bikes in the cemetery, and it was so disrespectful. But he was always finding animals and creatures and bringing them home for you all to see, and it's been good to us.
So what did you think when he first was like, guess what? I'm not going to sell paint anymore. I'm going to work at a cemetery.
Oh, I thought it was really odd, and I said, whatever you do, don't tell people what you're doing. But then I decided it was okay when he was taking his paychecks to the bank, and it worked out.
Yeah, that does make everything better when you get paid. So Daddy, how long have y'all been married?
We've been married 43 years.
Good.
And we dated 2 years before we got married. She begged me to marry her, and I finally let in on her and married her.
Right.
I still introduce her as my current wife.
Oh, how does she like that?
Not so much.
Yeah, I would say not so much. Well, I think that is the absolute perfect way to end our family episode, and it is coming up quick on 2019.
I'm excited.
I'm excited. We have so much awesome stuff in store for you guys with Caskets and Cocktails. We're getting a website.
Oh, man.
It's going to be very professional.
Oh, yeah?
Yes.
I'm excited about that.
Yes. We might even have to have
You'll have to show me how to get to it.
we might have some glamour shots done of you and I to add out there.
Oh, man. What would they put in those wrinkle fillers for me?
Yeah. In a sequin jean jacket.
Oh, man. Members only sequins jean jacket.
I like it. So we're going to do that. We're having our website design. We're also going to be selling some Caskets and Cocktail t-shirts and coffee mugs. Some just really cool stuff.
One of these days I can afford a tank of gas.
Oh, I know. Wouldn't that be nice? Well, we are excited about 2019. Caskets and Cocktails wants to wish you guys an Happy New Year. Keep up telling all your friends and family about us.
Subscribe, because we'll be the last ones to let you down.
You can rewind it. You can rewind it.
This is Alexa from the You Can Rewind It podcast. Remember those movies you loved as a kid? What would happen if you rewatched those favorites from your childhood? Would you still like them? My husband Brock and I are on a mission to watch these 80s classics to see if they still hold up today and if we'd give them a rewind. Check out our podcast, You Can Rewind It, on iTunes, Podbean, Stitcher, or your favorite podcast app. And remember, just because you can rewind it doesn't mean you should.
Oh my goodness. So Killer Trace has a new product, and I am so excited.
Really?
Yes.
What's it about?
It is a product, it's called the True Detective Kit, and it is specifically for parties or meetup events or big groups. I mean, it looks amazing. It's like a giant evidence box, and it has all the stuff you need to throw a crime-minded solving party.
Oh, wow.
I know. It's like, back in the day, people used to do those murder mystery parties.
Yeah, like the butler did it with a candlestick in the library.
Yes, kind of like that, except for real. I mean, it's not really for real, but it feels like it's for real.
Nobody dies.
I mean, not for real.
That's
not
good.
for real. That's a plus. But I cannot wait to do this with my girlfriend.
Repeat customers.
Yes, that's true. It's a bad idea to kill off your own customers, right? Well, you guys go out and check out Killer Trace. Be sure to get your True Detective Kit today and use code CAC2018. That's code CAC2018. We love Killer Trace. I know you guys will too.
Oh, yeah. All you got to do is try it once and you're hooked.
Absolutely.